believe that the best gift we can give our kids isn't a college fund, but the wisdom to manage, grow, and appreciate what they have. So today we are diving into creating money routines with your kids. So this is going to be your guide to turn everyday errands, everyday activities into some smart and fun money lessons. So whether you are starting from scratch or if you are looking for ideas to enhance what you're already doing, this session is going to help. Are you ready? If so, let's get started. In the work that I do every day, I love to ask parents this question. Have you ever wondered? Have you ever wondered what money lessons you wish someone had taught you at a young age? Based on where you are today in life, when it comes to money, what do you wish someone had taught you earlier in life? When I ask this question, I get a lot of different answers from people, right? Some people say, oh, I wish someone had taught me about credit. I wish somebody had warned me about debt, right? I wish somebody had taught me how to invest, how to save my money, right? And so, my question to you, if any of those things bubbled up for you, have you ever considered also how your life might be different if you learned or mastered some of those things, some of those money habits while you were young? It's a profound question because I often wonder, had I been taught things earlier in life, where would I be financially, right? What could I have done differently had I just been exposed to a few different things? And so that is what we are going to dive into today. What I want us to discover is how to take your kids' money knowledge from where it is now to where you really want them to be, right? Or more importantly, where they need to be based on the world that is waiting for them. And so that is why it is so important for us as parents to be intentional about pushing financial literacy and having this financial awakening in our child. We want to start planting money habits early and often so that something sticks. Okay. We want to raise money smart kids. We want our kids to be financially savvy adults. And this stuff does not come through osmosis. No, it does not. It comes from us planting the seeds along the way. And then you get some help, right? You get some help from experts. You get some help from reading different things. But I'm going to talk to you today about exactly what you can do so that we can start creating some money routines, no matter your kid's age, right? They can be 4, they could be 17. The goal is to give them something that sticks so that when they are finally out on their own, they have something to draw back from. Here are the things we are quickly going to talk about today to create these money routines with your kids. And we're going to talk the talk. That's the first thing. Second, we're going to talk about how to make money lessons stick. And then we're going to wrap it up with exposure and experience. These are the 3 steps that you're going to take that you are going to learn something from today in order to create these money routines with your kids. So let's first start with talk the talk. Now, Holly, what do you guys think I mean when I say talk the talk? And I probably should have added and walk the walk as well, right? But here's the thing. We are our children's first financial advisor. Whether we like it or not, our voices need to be the loudest when it comes to money and money management. Not TikTok, not YouTube influencers, and definitely not their friends passing on financial advice to them from who knows where. And so that's why we have to be equipped, right? We have to be equipped and unafraid to have these conversations with our kids. So the way you're going to do it, we're going to start these money conversations in the home. You can even do this starting this week, starting this weekend. We have got to break the silence and incorporate money talks into our everyday conversations with our kids and with our teenagers, right? So what something I hear a lot is I'll hear, well, Holly, I'm really intimidated. I feel like a hypocrite talking to my kids about money because I'm still in debt. I don't have a good relationship with money. I don't manage our money well. But the great thing is, the good news is you don't need a PhD to talk to your kids about money, right? In fact, all you need to do is talk about the things you know. And then if there are things that you don't know, this is the perfect opportunity for you to learn whatever it is you don't know right alongside your kids and your teenagers, right? So, why do you want to start money conversations with your kids and teens? Let me tell you why. Because there are a lot of misconceptions about money that you can help resolve by just sharing your experiences, by just opening up and being a little vulnerable with your kids. If you're bad with money, talk to them about, some of your money mistakes. Be open about the money mistakes, but don't just air out all the dirty laundry. You also have to attach what was the money lesson in it all, right? If you had your car repoed, you can make it a fun and comical story about how you were parking the car around the corner or, moving it every other day to avoid the repo man, right? Funny, right? But the lesson in that is what? Maybe you took on too much too soon, right? The lesson is when we borrow money to pay for things, or when we borrow money to have things like a car, we have to honor our obligations. So, what is the lesson? What is the money lesson in your experience, right? And so sometimes that requires us to be just a little vulnerable. But here's the other thing you need to do when you are talking that talk. One of the biggest mistakes I see parents make when it comes to talking to your kids about money is we don't set expectations. I'll give you an example. I hear parents who say, well, Holly, my kid, they just started their new job and all they're doing is spending their money on shoes. Or all they're doing is spending their money on clothes. Well, guess what? You can reset that expectation and say, you know what? I know you are earning your own money, but I expect you to save a portion. I expect you to give a portion, right? I expect you to pay to pay for the gas in the car. I expect you to pay to get the car washed, or I expect you to contribute towards your phone bill or something, right? Whatever it is that aligns with your family values, you set those expectations. But it all doesn't have to be so, whipping them over the head with everything. Not only can you set expectations, but you can also share what your dreams are for your kids, right? So give your kids something to aspire to. Maybe you say, I really want you to save your money so you can start investing. I really want you to save your money so that we can buy you a better used car or even a new car, right? So our kids naturally want to make us happy. They naturally need and want our acceptance or our stamp of approval. So lean into that when you share what your expectations are or what your dreams are for them, right? To live without having to worry about debt, to go to school without having to carry student loans. What are those things? And don't be afraid to share them, right? And so that leads us into sharing your family values. When we start talking about money, this is the perfect place to start sharing what you value most. Now, in the chat, I want you guys to share with me, if you can. Just think of a money value that's really important to your family. Think about what that value is and go ahead and put it in the chat, right? And the reason I'm asking you to do this is because what you share may help another family who's also here with us today and give them some good ideas as well. So maybe your family value is maybe you believe that hard work leads to financial rewards. How do you share that with your child, right? Or maybe you believe that it's really important to be generous and to give generously. How do you talk about that? How do you demonstrate that on a day-to-day basis? So share those things with your value and pass them along. Now, don't get me wrong, this does not need to be a 2-hour lecture because they are just going to tune you out. Trust me. But I'm going to share an example of a family value that was passed on to me, right? So my dad, he had a dream of all of his daughters moving out of our family home into a house of our own, that each of us would own our own home. And guess what? He found a way to share this with us. I mean, repeatedly. Not only was this a value of his that he shared and talked about, he found different ways to do it, right? He would share his dream. I want you to own your own home. But he would also share these stories and his ideals on why this was important to him. So for him, when he was a younger man, he was watching his peers or guys who were just older than him, and how these guys would spend all their money on cars, right? Trying to get the girls, trying to get the ladies. They would spend all their money on cars, but when it came to their living situation, he would see how these guys were either living with their parents, right? Or either living in a house that he would be ashamed to bring somebody to. And just that thought was what my dad established his value around this, right? He concluded that he would rather have a safe and respectable place to lay his head at night than to drive a fancy car during the day. And because he saw owning real estate, he saw the benefits of it. He saw that it gave individual options. He saw that it gave them prestige in the community. He not only wanted that for himself, but he wanted it for his girls as well, right? So because of my dad, because of his beliefs, because of his stories and him sharing the stories over and over at different points in our life, guess what? I bought my first house when I was 23, right? I moved from my parents' house into a house of my own. And so if you want your kids to be owners and not just consumers, give them a playbook to go by. Share those dreams and aspirations. Share those family values. Share why you want these things for them. And so just by him doing that, sharing that with us, he was able to pass down, a habit of owning real estate, of owning your home to his children. All right. So that's talk the talk. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to make money lessons stick. So this is really the backbone of where the routine comes in. So just like we have routines for meal times, you might have a routine for bedtime, or even, yourself to exercise. It's going to be important to establish a money routine that can really simplify the process of talking about money so that it's not a lecture. So instead, there's this dedicated time where we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about financial literacy, because let me tell y'all how these kids' brains work. We may have them going through the motions of, we may go through the motions of having conversations or talking to them. But what's really going to stick with them is when they are doing things. And that's when the light bulbs are going to go off. That's when things are going to start clicking. Things are going to start firing on all cylinders. So we have to create these spaces, create these learning experiences so that they stick in the days and months and years to come. So I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to tell you how you can make them stick. First, these are the 5 money habits that you should try to incorporate into your everyday errands and activities. So they're the ones on the sticky notes. So work smart to be rewarded. Save first and consistently. Spend wisely and consciously. Use credit responsibly and to give generously. And so we want to do this by creating those routines, like I was saying before. So we don't only want to teach our kids about numbers and about budgets, but we want to make sure that they can apply the lessons that we're talking to them about. And so I'm just curious if anyone has a routine that they have already started in their home. And if so, if you can, just share that in the chat. What's something that you do on a regular basis, right? With your family, with your kids, and what does that routine look like? So if you can share that with us in the chat, that would be very helpful, right? One way that while you guys are doing that, one way that really makes these lessons stick is to tie it to something that your kids really care about, especially as they become teenagers, right? So think about the life milestones that are happening for them in those preteen, teen years where they may be opening up their first savings account, where they may be getting ready to go to their first prom or getting ready to get their first driver's permit, right? These are like big deals to them. What money lessons can you tie to some of these life milestones that's going to make it stick for them? And so I'm going to take you guys through some examples so that you don't have to figure it all yourself. But here's some fantastic ways that you can start making money lessons stick and things that you can do over and over again and make it a routine without it being too overwhelming. So I'm going to start with money meetings. And so money meeting sounds very formal. It sounds super boring, but it doesn't have to be. Here's what a money meeting could look like. A money meeting could be one night every week where you give your kids an area of the family budget to manage. For an example, let's say the entertainment budget, right? So you give them a budget on for the entertainment budget, and then they work together, or if you only have an only child, they come up with ideas and make sure that they make sure that their ideas fall within their budget, right? So it could be a family budget. It could be planning for a family trip that's coming up. Some portion of that trip, it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but you want to give them some input, ways that they can input, but also manage the money, right? So you can make it fun, make their favorite meal, bring their favorite snacks out, turn on their favorite music, and then just help them think through what are the things they need or things that they need to consider to make sure the budget is complete. And then you guys can simply talk about it, right? Money meetings could also mean we're going to meet and we're going to play games. And the games are all going to be money games. It could be Monopoly, right? So here's a picture with me and my niece where we're playing the University of Georgia version of Monopoly. And she was just getting so excited because she was buying the properties on the board, right? And so just talking through that, seeing what was motivating her to keep going, it was a really cool experience. And so I just encourage you guys to think of ways that you can do it, right? So if you have littles, you can always create your earn, save, spend, and give jars. So I have an example of that where we've done that before in my household. And then you can just set aside a time where you decorate the jars. And so the jars, you could decorate the jars with, what are you saving for? Is it a trip? Is it a trip to the beach? Okay, let's draw a little beach scene on the labels, right? Where do you plan to give? Is it to the church? Is it to a homeless shelter? Is it to your local animal shelter? Let them draw a picture that represents where they want to share their money. So it can really be an activity that it doesn't have to be so stuffy and so formal, right? So we've talked about board games. There are so many on the market. Just go online, Google money board games, and you'll find so many options, right? Financial story time. This can be you sharing a story. This can be you grabbing and reading a book together that talks about money or a money lesson, right? This could be you reading a news story or news event talking about money where you guys are actually talking about the pros and the cons, allowing your child to have a voice to share their opinion. Do you think this is right? Do you think this is wrong? Why or why not? Right? But just a financial story time. Always one of my favorite money habits to practice and to make a regular part of family time is giving back. A lot of us do it already. We volunteer our time, we volunteer our treasure, we volunteer our talent to so many different organizations. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk about why we give, why we spend so much time with this group, and bring your kids along. Let them see it, right? And then talk to them about what are the things that they care about, where are the places they would like to potentially go and volunteer, and then do it, right? And then take action. And then also financial vision boards. This is always a good one because it's not just a one at the beginning of the year. It's something you revisit over and over again, tweak, edit as things change throughout the year to make it something consistent, that you talk about and what financial goals they may want to create for themselves. Or if you have family financial goals that you guys are working towards, it can be a whole family thing. Okay. So I hope these were some great ideas on how you can start building a routine, incorporating it. The biggest thing that I want you guys to take away from this is, while I've given examples, what I really want you to take away from this is that we want to involve our kids in real life financial decisions, right? If your child has a savings account, pull up that bank statement, walk through how to read the bank statement, right? Do that a couple of times. And then every month that bank statement comes in, let them read it to you. Let them explain what they are seeing to make sure that they get it. Okay. Like, there are just so many ways that you can incorporate it. Everybody has to eat, right? So let them help you find electronic coupons, or coupons on the app, or coupons to actually clip, so that you can save money on your grocery bills, right? Let them plan the family outing. But there are so many opportunities where historically we don't involve our kids at all. And you don't have to let them take over the whole thing. Just give them a portion of it, so that they can start practicing and mastering these things at a young age. All right. So hopefully that was helpful, because the third step is all about experience and exposure. Listen, we talked about starting the money conversations. You got to talk the talk, right? Share those family values. We've talked about, how you need to make money lessons stick, attaching them to milestones in their life, things that they're going to remember, things that are really important to them, making it a routine. And I just went through a slew of examples for you to do just that. But this third step is all about experience and exposure. So, for my parents, put a 1 in the chat. I want to know, how many helicopter parents do I have watching us today? How many helicopter parents do we have? Come on, don't be ashamed. Put a 1 in the chat. Listen, if you don't know what I'm talking about, helicopter parenting, maybe you're just, this is what it refers to. Maybe you're one of those parents where you're just a little overprotective. Maybe you have a very involved parenting style, right? Like the helicopter hovers. So does your parenting style. You don't want your kids to do anything without you being a part of it. Well, I know if you are a helicopter parent, don't feel bad, because I know you have the best intentions, right? Of course, you have the best intentions. But as parents, let me tell you, it is important that you find ways to expose your kids to real life problems, to real life consequences, right? And experiences, so that they have a chance to actually find their own way in life, so that they can practice the very things that we are trying to teach them, right? So if you got it, say I got it. If you got it, put I got it in the chat. Our kids need their own experiences, right? Life experiences that you actually can't control. That's what they need, right? There is more than one way to get things done. There is more than one way to achieve their goals, to achieve financial goals. There's more than one way to manage money. So it's really important that they see it, right? That they get a chance to do it differently, right? So our kids learn through observation, they learn through doing. And so mistakes are often the best teacher in life. So that's why we have to open the door. We have to give them the space and the capacity to fail, to miss an opportunity, to face consequences, right? And so that is what this is all about. If you just take a step back, think about it for yourself. Some of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life have been because of a mistake that I made or an opportunity that I didn't take advantage of. It's going to be the same thing for your kids, right? Adversity wakes us up. It's going to wake your kids up. So you have to give them an opportunity. So I was on TikTok. This was a while back, and I shared this statistic that 32% of teens can't identify the difference between a credit card and a debit card. And one comment that somebody left was, "I'm not shocked. At 18, I went stupid over my first credit card. I didn't realize you got to pay it back because no one taught me." And I do not want that for your kids. This is your opportunity to be your kids' first financial investor. You've got to start talking to them about the things that we take for granted every day. We take for granted that our kids know how credit cards work. They don't. We have to teach them. We have to slow down. They just see us swiping. They don't know the difference. So we have to break it down and make sure that they understand how things work. All right. So with that, please, my plea to you, please allow them to make their own choices, right? Please give them the space to make mistakes, to fail, to suffer the consequences. They will be better off for it. All right. So, as we wrap up our time together, I just want to leave you with the three things we've talked about: talking that talk, making money lessons stick, exposure, and experience. I want you to imagine a world where our children grow up with not just dreams, but they will have the financial wisdom, they will have the financial knowledge, they will be equipped with the tools and the resources to make their dreams a reality. And that world starts with us, right? In small moments, in everyday conversations. So I understand that, teaching our kids money lessons may feel like one more thing, but we deal with money every day. It just takes a moment to amplify, to highlight the lesson, or to talk them through the process of what is actually going on. So I don't want you to underestimate it, right? I don't want you to take it for granted and think that they're just going to pick it up somewhere else, because our schools aren't teaching it consistently. And the statistics show that we don't do a very good job of talking about these things in our home. And so I want to help you change that.